Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Lesson Known Classic. This is episode number 3156, Doubleshot 3050. What better my 3050th double shot than discuss two really awesome stuff here. First that we have is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2! And no subtitle this one. Yep, Ryan Parrott is your writer here with the awesome Dan Moore on the artwork. Yes, fairly recent miniseries. It is basically a sequel to the previous one. I do want to show you a bit for this one. Yes, I think for a lot of people they got to use Dan Moore thanks to Power Rangers. So we started with Casey Jones fighting Karai, basically sparring Karai on a rooftop. And possibly two basically hitting on each other for a little bit. Oh yeah, and also for some reason, Karai wearing the outfit she wore from the old 3 show for some reason. Not really sure why. And then all of a sudden a portal opens up. Casey and his mask lock up. Like, I guess the vacation's over. And then cut to Angel Grove, where we have Donnie and Mikey disguised as two black guys. And April having a chat with Trini and Kimberly, and then they chat with Bulk and Skull. Interview stuff with the Power Rangers, and we see Donnie in the command center. Of course, they're trying to get back to their own home dimension. Then we have Jason sparring with Leonardo. Not a bad choice. I love the fact Dan Moore keeps his arc consistent between the main Power Rangers book and this book. Was great on the fact, yes, it does look like Austin John himself, but great on the fact that it is. We have Tommy here in the Green Ranger suit, so you could say this particular crossover takes place during the time he was the Green Ranger, possibly. But so basically, looking for somebody. Yep. So then we have Tommy and Raphael looking for the tunnels. And they come across the Rat King. Yep, the Rat King. And they chat with him for a bit. And they run the Beep Bop and Godar. John Crane, right here is Mr. Stockman, not Dr. Stockman. It's back to Stockman. Yes, and for some reason they would the white look for him. This I think he's normally depicted. Okay, so who is supposed to be back to Stockman here? Like, is it the guy with the glasses or the black guy? Because normally, Baxter Stockman, all interpretations except for the 87 show, is always picked as black. So, then the Turtles and the Power Rangers show up to take on this horde. And Casey Jones is basically coming in and of course, you said we're basically not telling anybody. So, of course, Stockman. And then for some reason, Casey hits Donatello back of the head. Because, of course, he decided to morph into a Red X Ranger. And of course, they go off to Dimension X with the Technodrome. So, Baxter Stockman is white here. So, we're going with the 87 interpretation. Okay. At least I have to fly. So, and apparently inside Technodrome is Rita Repulsa. Yes. Why she's here, don't know. They form an alliance, so they meet up in the Turtles' lair to figure out what the heck is going on. Of course, they're having chat with Zordon. We have this weird hologram communication, and then we have General Krang and all these little morphers that belong to Ranger Dimension X. Interesting. Yes. So, and of course, get back to Zords. Then we have apparently more mutations here. I think it's Letterhead there on the controls. Like, they're not bad guys. It's Morphin time. Mastodon, Triceratops, Pterodactyl, Saber-tooth Tiger, Tyrannosaurus. And they all morph. And they all kick butt, take no names. So, I'm thinking this is supposed to be Leatherhead. But apparently they don't know this is a Leatherhead. So, and then we have, get this, we have Casey Jones, Scorpina, I think it's Rocksteady, go to the command center and basically bust in. Yes, the command center. And then the Shredder shows up. Yes, the Shredder is here. Because all about invading the Power Rangers dimension, we have the Shredder Angel Grove. Of course, they're briefly like... Yep. Because they reluctantly work together. It's like... Get the robot out of here. And of course... And then we have General Krang. Yes, so you have a little bit here of the TMNT IDW stuff. It's like... So... And of course, they basically worry about Casey, and of course, then they basically transfer with Morphers. Like, if your team's up with Morpher, no, it's mutating time, and then they transform into Go Mighty Mutant Power Rangers, where they all become mutated. Yep. Why mutated? No idea. They decided just to do it because they wanted to, and of course, they just go wild because, well, why not? And of course, Shredder was working with them reluctantly. And going to Dimension X to retrieve Casey, obviously. Yep. And all kicking butt, taking no names. The command center is taken over by Rita Repulsa. She's basically got them all over the place. Yep. By the way, in real life, the command center, the exterior is actually a Jewish temple. Yes. From what I heard, it still exists in California. I think it's like a Jewish Scientific Institute, I think it is. I know the place still exists. But they probably stopped using it because it was money. So, how they conquer the world, and of course, basically, Casey Jones is kind of like basically their version of Tommy, who's basically corrupted. So then we have Power Up, Power Extreme. They have Turtles turn to the Dimension X Rangers. Now we have Bulk and Skull inside of the former command center of the Power Rangers, where it basically is interviewing Beep Bop and Rocksteady, who I'm looking at them, and it looks like they took the design for them from, I think this may have been from the IDW version, but it looks kind of like the 2012 version a little bit. Actually, no, actually, this is an IDW version, so. And then issue number 4 ends, where Krang has taken over the Megazord. Yep, he has taken over the Megazord. And I read the final issue. Casey Jones is basically under Rita's control. Yeah, also for some reason, artists thought it was a good idea to make Rita Repulsa smoking hot. Yes, despite the fact that the actress who played her was actually in her 50s at the time when she played the role. Yep, and then we have Shredder morphing into a Green Ranger. Yep, the Shredder. By the way, Zed did that too in one comic. So then we have lots of action here. Of course, you have Raphael to take out Casey Jones. And then eventually they do take it back to the Dragon Zord. Yep, and they transform that to its warrior mode. You have April O'Neil doing being a reporter, which is something from the 87 show, not from the Kuro comic book. So you could say this is a mixture of like 87 Turtles and possibly the IDW version. Oh yeah, so inside these containers. What's inside of them? Well, basically they trap Rita and Krang inside of these. Actually, these are supposed to be dumpsters, and of course everything go back to normal. For some reason, I'm not sure why, we turned the Turtles to be black guys for some reason. And the combination of like take a picture, and then of course basically with Keith Morphers and Then they go back home, and then we have Finster, Squat and Bebop, and Goldar meet up with Shredder, who is basically formed an alliance with Lord Zed. Where it says, Lord Zed, and conquering this world is the first step. Alright, human, I'm listening. Yes. This book was excellent. So shame they haven't done 3 yet. Yeah, this book is awesome. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Yes. One of the very few crossovers Turtles has done that has got multiple sequels. The other one just has 2, is this one. And I believe it's Godzilla. That was only up 2. Oh, there's one. Ghostbusters. But currently they can't do the Ghostbusters because IDW Lights publishing more. That for some reason went Dark Horse. Not sure why, but that's what happened. Turtles also did a brief crossover with the X-Files, most of it interacting with a lone gunman. But probably the most popular crossover they ever done was with Batman, doing 3 main comics and a cross between 2 different animated series. And a movie. Yep. Great stuff here with this one. Yeah, next up basically we have is Lois Lane celebrating 75 years. Yes, a hardcover. I got this book a while ago, but I never viewed it. This book contains Action Comics 1, 2, 6, 484, 600, 662, Superman. This is probably just it's all Lois Lane stories from Superman 29, 33, 34, 58. They also have Superman Lois Lane 1 shot from 1998, Superman Volume 2, number 168, Wonder Woman Volume 2, number 170, Avengers Superman 631, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane 42, 146, issue 5. Basically both stories, basically the whole thing of issue 9 of Showcase. And they also included 2 issues of All-Star Superman. And the way I presented here, now my guess the reason why they have Action Comics 1 and 2 together, because 1 leads in issue 2. That's the reason why it's like that. And they have Action Comics number 6 is basically from the Girl Reporter years, the Girlfriend. Superman 29, Superman 39, 33, 34, 58. All from 1938, 1949. They have Superman's Girlfriend from Showcase number 9. Lois Lane, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane 5. 16, 42, and 106. Lois and Clark, this is 90 stuff. This is basically post-crisis. We have Mass number 2, which is the first these two ever met. Action number 600, which is Lois Lane's story. 662, which I believe this is the issue where... I believe this is the one where it ended with Clark revealing he's actually Superman to Lois. The Lois Lane 1 number 1 from 1988, this is a Girl Frenzy book. 168, this is a Superman book by Jeff Loeb. Basically, when we got starting Wonder Woman during Bill Jimenez, is an amazing run for the book. Avengers Superman 631. This is a Greg Ruckus run during the last couple years of the book. And they include a short story from Superman 80-page giant 2010. And then they also included The Wife of Superman from Superman's Girlfriend 23. Superman Takes the Wife from Action Comics 484. And Superman's 40. And of course, also Superman 2 and 3. So, yeah, the first 2 stories is basically from the first 2 issues of Action, which we discussed already in, I believe it was Superman Golden Age. I've also discussed issue 6. Yeah, issue 6 basically was the next one. Yeah, I've discussed already. I think I have discussed issue 29 before. Let me check here for that one. So, basically for this Superman story, just... Okay, here we go. I think I'm basically in it now. Come on, get there, please. Thank you. Up, 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 Come on. Come on. I know you can do it. Anyways, I don't think I had because I reviewed the first 25. It's just a short story. It's Lois, basically their own soul story here, and then this is from. Looks like it's called Lois Lane Loves Clark Kent. This actually is from. This is the Go Reporter stuff. This is basically. I think this is from Superman. It's from. Is Pearl on Piggy Bank from Superman 33, written by Whitney Ellsworth. Whitney Ellsworth does issue 33 and 34 of Superman. Willie Wolfwork does Superman 58, and this is all just Lois Lane stories here. We have Lois basically just here with Superman. I guess they threw these stories in here because I guess DC must have really enjoyed them. And then move on to the 1950s, basically the Silver Age, kind of, where issue 5, which I know I've discussed this already, and I think it was a previous showcase book, I think it was. Here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Come on, move up, please. Up. Up. Thank you. Okay, so, turn 20. I have reviewed this one already. Issue 5, this is probably just a short story from that one. So, basically, I have reviewed the stories, well, let's see. 29, 33, 34, I have reviewed those already. 50, I have not. That's Superman Lois Loves Clark Kent. I have not reviewed that one. Showcase 59, I believe I have reviewed that one. Superman's Girlfriend 16, nope, I have not reviewed that one just yet. So, we have Lois and I Kite, you know, all this crazy stuff here. And then we have the new Lois Lane, which is from Showcase number 9, which I'm skipping over that one because I've discussed already. So, that's where issue 5 is. The story is, what if Lois Lane was overweight? Yes, that is the gag for the story. Lois Lane being overweight, the fattest girl in Metropolis. Yes, Lois has mysteriously put on weight, and she can't wear any outfit. She looks embarrassed by it, and then she turned back normal-ish. And then we have the Kryptonian Girl from issue 16. We have Lois just having kryptonite power, just flying Superman, but she can't harm him because she loves him still. And then we have 42, which is a weird one, which is, oh, let's have Superman and Lois turn teenagers versus babies and turn as teenagers for an issue, because, you know, the Silver Age was wacky. And then we have a very controversial issue here, where, for some reason, the writer of this book, which also has a backup story featuring Rosa, which is not in this book here, this is done by Robert Kanigher or by Werner Roth. This is the story where Lois Lane becomes a black woman. Yep. For some strange reason, somebody in DC Comics thought this was a good idea. I guess let's take on racism. This is basically more of like a Bronze Age story. Love the artwork, though. It's a short story, but it's not exactly the full story here. So, and then we have the whole post-crisis. I discussed pretty much a lot of this stuff already, except for this Lois Lane book, which is done by Barbara Kitzler. And here's the thing: the artwork is done by the awesome Amanda Connor. The inking is done by her awesome husband, Jim Palmiotti. So it's nothing but Lois being a spy and just, ooh, it's like Miss Lawless, look at her name is Lois Lane. And their awesome husband comes in and smooch and like, ooh, they hang on the bed for a while. It would lovey-dovey because they love each other. Of course, they go back to work-ish. Where basically, you see, like, it's a good spy book. I love the fact that the story for Lois post-crisis. I believe this is the first solo story she's had post-crisis, because of course she's had solo stories a lot over the years. And then we have the basically 21st century, which is basically 160, which I discussed the previous review already, which is basically a story that would basically this came in 01, which is basically in the last year of the whole Triangle era. The 170, which I've discussed already, and when I discussed 111 Volume 2. And then we have Instrument 6 Reading, which that one I had discussed as well in another previous review. So a lot of 21st century ones I have discussed already. The next story here, the Lois Clark Kent one. This is actually the one. This is a short story from Superman 80 page 9 2010. Whereas Lois basically is like having a cold. And of course, basically, it's like Lois is not feeling well, and of course, basically, Clark takes her home. I'm presuming home because, well, I highly doubt they would have a split bed. But I thought this is a good idea was really dumb. It could be a hotel, possibly. So, and like, oh crap, a cup fell over. But luckily, basically, then we have, Clark basically is like, the whole thing is basically Lois is sick, and they're basically just confined to her. Of course, Clark goes out as Superman briefly because he hears some noise. Probably distract him. It's a really fun issue. Then we have these imaginary Adcott news stories. First, we have from Superman 23, imaginary story featuring Miss Lois Kent as the wife of Superman. Yeah, something basically I don't think I discussed this already before. No. So it just basically Lois and Clark are like possibly having kids. That's really the whole thing with this one. It's like an imaginary story, which they come to play later on. And we have 484, which I believe this is basically like, this is a double issue. Let me take a look here at this one, because I think this may be a full story. This was the 40th anniversary of Superman. It's an imaginary story here. Written by Carrie Bates and art by the late Kurt Swan, who drew a lot of Superman stories here over the years. Let's see, was this a full story? I'm about to check here. It was. Superman takes a wife. It's pretty much in the way. This is basically, well, it's Earth 2 Superman marrying Earth 2 Lois. That is simply put, basically, it's just a follow-up to Earth 2 stuff. It's a story of how they got married. And of course, having the Wizard here, which is a classic Flash one. A Jay Garrick Flash one. They have a lot of fun here. Then we have Lois and Clark get married. They go on their honeymoon. Like, everything's hunky-dory. And then the story ends, basically, it's like, yep, they're basically together. And then we have the Grant Morrison stuff, which, yeah, a lot of the stuff in here is really good. If you're into, basically, Lois Lane, I recommend checking this book out. I give this book a 10 out of 10. And of all the books in here, I think that the Showcase number 9 book, I think that's one of the very few ones in here that is a full story. Let's see. That's better. Let's see. Miss Superman. I don't think that was collected in this book. No. I think the first 2 stories were. Yes. The whole issue was reprinted in Showcase Presents soon, so I have discussed already. They printed one of the stories new with Lois Lane. But by the way, who does this amazing cover? I think this was Neil Adams who did this amazing cover. I think it was Neil Adams. Let me take a look here about that one here. This is done by Gary Frank. Yeah, he did this one. So in the case of the 30, so basically 29, 33, 34 discusses already. 58, I have not. I think this one was just the one story. This one was just the B story. Lois Lane loves Clark Kent. It's the middle story, which I think this was collected in an omnibus. Yes. Now, as for the other stuff, what about issue 5? I highly doubt this is the whole story for this one. This one here is the C story for Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. Issue 16, The Kryptonite Girl. This one was the third story in the book. 42, the romance stuff. This actually was the third story. 106. This one was the opening story because there is a backup one here, which is basically Rose and Thorn. We do have debut in this story here of the character of David Stevens, who was a semi-recurring character. He basically dated the character of Tina Ahmed, which of course she was introduced in 114. Not a very well-known character. Now, in case you're curious though, was Dave Stevens ever brought in post-crisis? No. Not really. He was simply an Earth 1 character. But, if you think about it, yes, the Man of Steel 600, that's just a short story. 662, yes, that's the full story. Lois Lane, a lot of the other ones are. The 80-page giant, Penance and Cure. This actually is the Beast. This is actually the second story of the book. Yep. Second story, because it focuses on Lois. Obviously. The wife of Superman from Superman's Girlfriend 23. This one is the third story in here. Yes, despite the fact being the story of the cover, it's the last story in here. Yep. But not really much else to say in here about this book. It's good. Definitely. By the way, in the case of those other ones, for 29.33, that is basically a short story in the book. I think, if I remember correctly, I believe they did collect this in the... they collect the whole thing in Superman Archives Volume 7. Published by Superman Incorporated. Yeah, they're just basically just stories in there. A lot of these are just short stories early on, but later on they become full stories. But we do have a lot of really good creative teams in this book. No story is bad, except 106 is a very controversial one, because the whole thing of Lois turning black. Yes, I did hear this one did receive not a good reception. It's a weird one. You think it's a Silver Age? Because of the premise of like Lois Lane turning black? No. This is actually a Bronze Age story. A lot of the other ones, like the Axiomic issues 1, 2, 6, Superman 29, 33, 34, 58, that's all Golden Age. 9, that's Silver Age. The early Superman Girlfriend issues, Silver Age. The Superman's Girlfriend 106, that's one of 2 Bronze Age stories. You have being Axiomic from 84. Most everything else is post-crisis. Yep. But not much to say about this book. So, that is pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, Yahadra, Dark Elf. Bye.